in a very common pattern, people run of sacrificing today for the future. And a lot of people that are working really hard and they're not enjoying their journey and they're delaying gratification. And under the guise of delaying gratification, it's okay. And that would suck. That would suck to delay gratification, and then your partner gets, hit by a truck, or you're delaying gratification to provide for your kids, and then something happens. Would you guys say it's important to be present, but also do you maintain like 90% being present and 10% future?
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday, and we take questions and answers from the audience, some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions, and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy.
I used to do this thing whenever I was flying across countries, including flying into China for the first time. I had this little procedure. My dad taught it to me, and I was wise enough to listen to my dad. I had my piece of paper and I just drew some lines on it, and I made these boxes. And these are the rough boxes, not the exact boxes, but pretty close to it. I would put my life in a boxes. Life does not come in boxes, but we leave our life in a box. That's another story, right? Little oddly shaped box. So this is a rather left brain logic, but incredibly beneficial. I remember flying into Shanghai, and I did my little thing, and I did this maybe every 3 or 4 months. I looked at my life and I gave myself a score in each quadrant. Some people have this as a wheel of life. And you can take away what's not relevant for you. You can change names what's relevant for you. Spirituality might not be important for some people. It may be more so for others. But this is what I did, and this is my left brain way. It's all I knew how to do, but it kind of served me well. If this is all you do, cool. I love to hear what you guys do. Darko is going to share a way. Perhaps a couple of other people will share some ways. And then I'll show you a couple more ways, a bit more advanced. But we all have our little quirky ways. I remember doing that, like flying into Shanghai, going through. And I started this coaching thing in Motivate Community and Motivate Shanghai. And one reason I did it, because I recognized that if I brought people around and if we spoke about personal development, and other people that like personal development would come in, and we could all like geek out together. We could be geeks or nerds or whatever, and we could share what we were passionate about. Oh, I'm learning hypnosis, or I'm learning to be calmer, or whatever. We could share that stuff. And that's how this whole thing started. So just sharing and caring. And that was the way I started. But Darko, okay. How do you do your goal setting or intention setting?
I am very goal-oriented person. Because that was during my study, and all I was doing was setting goals, making plans, setting goals. But it was at the study with examples, with thinking. And now I decided that I'm lowering this, but still I need some goal in order to move, to achieve, and to feel that I'm fulfilled at the end of the life. So usually my goals, there are different parts of the goals you show, part of the life, and some of the goals I need to reach by someone else put me. It is external goals. For example, I have a scheduled exam, so I need to learn. And if I know that exam is, let's say, next month, then I'm setting a daily goals, how much pages I will learn. So that is the way I'm setting goals. Of course, there is a different aspects of life, but I'm mostly focusing energy on what is most important for me. So that is how it's going. Sometimes I used to write, but not all the time. It is in my mind. I'm using more visualization and fantasy.
All right. So it sounds
So
like you
that
actually
is
like
maybe.
the goals and you like the structure and you like breaking it down on what you have to do, how many pages, how many things you got to do every day.
Yes, I like. It's mixed. Sometimes I like, sometimes I don't like, but I prefer to have some structure, some, let's say for the day, I'm saying this is, I'm separating the day 8 to 12, 12 to 4, and then after 4 in the midnight. So usually nighttime, I'm using to spend with the family. But in the morning, let's say up to 12, I need to do some physical activities in the morning. And then second part is more working with clients, and then the end with the family. That is the structure. So yes, I like the structure. It's also
I
trying to live in
used
the
to do
moment.
something like that sometimes, but I actually sucked at it. I broke down the days and I couldn't really stick to it so well. William, did you ever do that? Break down the days?
Only in a business sense, I think probably. Not in a spiritual or any sense, because that's ongoing anyway. I think the only thing was just monetary wise, I was a very selfish man in my younger days. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. So different horses, different courses, and maybe sometimes that way will totally work. Like the William said, business or money, breaking it down step by step. Jennifer here, she's a coach. With coaches, one of the best things you need to do for a coaching practice, you need to dedicate like an hour of power. And every morning for an hour, just step into your best power and like message your clients and do your coaching videos, whatever, and do it like as like the sun shines out of your butt. Oh, you know, and give a real hour of power. And doing that every day is the way you build a big coaching business. Right, breaking goals down. Thanks for sharing that, Darko. There might be some limitations on that model for very spiritual practices. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe someone that's meditating regularly, maybe they could set some more finite milestones, like meditating for 10 minutes. A week later, 11 minutes. A week later, 12 minutes. A week later, 13 minutes. Maybe more measurements, more specifics.
That comes in the morning in my case.
Before coffee? Meditation should be before coffee, I think, unless you don't like the gamma. Hey, Greg, would someone else like to share your little, do you have a New Year's process?
Sure. For me, what works, not because it's New Year, I'm not into that, that it's New Year, you have to change your life. But I think we can take the time at New Year to kind of get on a new track or a different track or different mindset. There's a couple of things that I want to do to become better, to work on myself. And one I'll just share with you is living in the moment. Living in the moment. I'll give an example of why I mention it, because a few weeks ago, I met a woman who had a shock in her life. I mean, a real shock. I'll just tell you very briefly. She's in her 50s. She was married 30 years, over 30 years. Her husband went on a business trip to Tibet, of all places, Tibet. And it was a week trip. And then 5 days into the trip, she gets a call, the guy's dead. Her husband is dead, died of natural causes. this just, I guess, in a way, just blew her mind, you know? And it just changed her sense of reality and any shock such as that. And she's still going through it. So I met her, and what I take from it, and I tried to take stuff that's in front of me, like stuff like this. To me, it's just like, look, you know, your life can be gone before you know it. So just live in the moment and be happy for what you have, and don't waste time. And you can go on that. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Can I just say there, Greg, I totally agree with you.
Thanks. Well, it's very powerful. I don't know, like why she came in my life at that time to teach me or to remind me of that lesson. I'm thankful for life. And I grew up like that. My parents were like, look, you know, if you don't have your health or whatever, and this whole COVID thing, but for her, and she's such a wonderful woman. And you're just like, wow. It's just, I'm just like, just live in the moment. Be thankful for what you got and go for it. Don't waste time. Use every day the best you can, you know? So that's really, you know, yeah. It's kind of cool because it makes you really wake up, you know? You're just like, yeah, this is another day, or I feel okay, or I'm sick, but to be dead is another story, you know? He's gone, and she has to deal with that, and she is dealing with it, but you can imagine what weight that put on her, or I don't know. You know what I mean? So that's all I have to say.
Great.
Thank you, Greg. I felt that through my body, which is I don't normally feel. And one thing that flashed in front of my mind is some of my clients in a very common pattern people run of sacrificing today for the future. And a lot of people that are working really hard and they're not enjoying their journey, and they're delaying gratification. And under the guise of delaying gratification, it's okay. And that would suck. That would suck to delay gratification, and then your partner gets, you know, hit by a truck, or you know, you're delaying gratification to provide for your kids, and then, you know, something happens. Would you guys say it's important to be present, but also do you maintain like 90% being present and 10% future?
Well, some of you may know my thoughts on this. Every moment is connected. The future, the past, the now is all connected. And in reality, every moment now, not just then when I said now, but now when I'm saying now, is so important to the next now. And all these moments do make a difference, because when we're younger, we look back and we think, my goodness, we've, you know, had a good time, had a great time, we've wasted time, we've done whatever. But as we get a little bit older, we get our eyes become weaker, but we see through a lot more of the bullshit that goes on, you know. so in reality, you know, what Greg's saying is so important. You know, gratitude is so important, no matter who you are. And if you're grateful for things, the world is grateful to you. To live in the moment, because then you're connected with both your future and your past. But if you live in the moment, you're enjoying the best of that moment. And if you're living in the past, that's crazy. And if you're worrying about the future, you're in anxiety. You know, that's the way it's got to be. You know, live with gratitude, live in the moment, and I suppose have a positive attitude and make the most of every moment. The moment now, not the moment then. If that made sense. It may not make sense to some people.
It does. And in the NLP world, one of my trainers was saying that we want to be present. And by present, I mean associated. Fully present in your body, feeling your fingertips, seeing it out through your eyes, seeing the world in front of you. A but or and from time to time dissociating, from time to time stepping out, reviewing, or future planning. But we've got to be spending most of our lives associated. I mean, that's why we're human beings. We're in this body. Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. He talks about mentally visualizing and creating the future you want in your mind's eye and being present. So you're either visualizing what you want or you're present. But if you're not present, you're missing the present. Anyway. I have a little NLP to share with you guys that I think you might enjoy. We teach this stuff, but I want to talk a little bit about framing and goal setting. And there's something in here that's really useful and particularly useful for when you're sharing with other people. So this is a very valuable skill for when you're working with other people that don't have the knowledge that you have. Great little things in here that you can share with others. So when it comes to framing, I think we all might understand what a frame is, but a frame is a point of reference or a way of seeing, doing, thinking about the world. All our communication, all our thinking, it's all framed already. All content has no meaning on its own. I mean, this is just a cup or a thing. But when you see a handle, or when you see me going like that, we understand more. So a person gives meaning according to their own beliefs, values, experiences, and by comparison. By comparison. So we've got all this framing, and the framing shapes the world, it shapes our design, it shapes our experiences, and obviously it can get in the way. So if we really want to be present, but part of us keeps framing everything as in the future, it's getting in the way. But if we want to be present and we're framing things in the present, like associated, we're going to be aligned and it's going to be smooth. Now, as I just mentioned, being associated is like when we're seeing our world through our own eyes. You could even see that as a frame. But inside that frame of being associated, am I taking the frame of a mindfulness person and being present, or am I maybe taking the frame of an entrepreneur and looking for ways to expand? I can make things explicit as well. I can make things clear and go, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I sell training. And I can make it implicit and not say it. Hey, I'm an NLP trainer, this is for you guys, take what you want. When we make our frames explicit, sometimes it's useful and sometimes we might want to keep our frames implicit. I like to make the frames explicit most of the time. A way we can make things even more specific is when someone is talking to us or a person is complaining. We can ask them, well, what do you want? And what's the difference between what do you want and what do you really want? You see the frame is slightly different there. What do you want? What do you really want? The frame is a bit different. So we use framing all the time. We don't always say it. It's generally implicit, but sometimes we can say it. And when we say to someone, what do you want? And then we say, what do you really want? We're guiding the frame into what they really want. And we could also change the frame into what's the obstacle or what's the problem. All events, it's all framed. Here's a way of framing it that you're all pretty common with. Optimistic or pessimistic. If we take one particular frame, the lazy frame, it leads to something, feeling lazy. We take the optimistic frame and it leads to something very different. So obviously we can change our framing, but we can actually frame other people. I call this thing force framing. I think I actually learned it in a different space, but it's very related to NLP. And Stephen, I wanted to thank you for coming today. The way you come, it just shows me how disciplined you are and how committed you are to growing as a person. I just put a frame on Stephen as someone committed to his growth. Yeah. Greg, you must be an explorer, Greg. I'm not just being Australian over there. You must be an explorer coming along, discovering new places. Well done, mate. I love explorers. I explored a lot of the world. You look like a real explorer. See, I'm putting the frame on. We can put frames on other people, but generally we want an excuse. I did that completely unconsciously. I don't have that pre-written or anything. When I gave the compliment to Stephen, I gave him a reason. I gave him a frame, confident, committed to growing. And I gave him a reason. I said to Greg, he's an explorer because I gave him a reason. So we can force frame any of our friends into being more positive. We can, if our friend is complaining, we could frame them as an action taker. Because, well, we need a because. Yeah. Now, if you frame someone as an action taker before you give them the action, they're more likely to take it. And I would love to frame all you guys as being very grateful and mindful and happy people. That's very ecological because you turned up. So anyway, force framing is wonderful. And I actually like to force frame. I put frames on people all the time, like you're brilliant, you're awesome, you're a rock star. I don't think we get enough of it. One of my best friends in the world, he gave me some kind of compliment or encouragement. And I heard him giving encouragement to someone else. And after a while, I asked him, you give encouragement a lot? He said, yeah, people don't get enough encouragement today. Hey guys, when was the last time someone said you're doing a good job? Or when was the last time someone said you're awesome? 5 days ago? Yeah. We should do it more often. So we can force frame, we can put frames on people that are compliments. Sadly, a lot of TV puts framing on people. TV puts frames on people that they're not good enough. And they'll often do it implicitly. So, under guys, they will put a frame on you that you're not good enough because you don't have the red Ferrari. Or you're not good enough because your teeth aren't sparkling white like this person. So be careful of that. And there's a lot of materialism, a lot of negatively framing people in our world. So how about us as a community? We'll frame people in more positive light. Thanks for the comment there, Jennifer. So all events are framed. It's just a matter of whether it's implicit or explicit. We can make it explicit. We can pre-frame people. We can reframe people. Reframe is simply when you have someone that's saying they're lazy and you say, are you lazy or are you just highly motivated to be really efficient? So all events are framed, and guess what? Our goals and our outcomes are framed as well. And what if you change the frame? Well, if you change the frame, and if you have someone saying they're lazy and you point out that they're actually very motivated towards efficiency. I got a friend, he has a bin and he has a rope on his bin. So he just pulls the rope and throws his garbage in. Yeah. I think that's ingenious. He says, I'm lazy. I think you're a genius. I think you're a creator. I think you're an engineer. As soon as I say that, he starts saying, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. It was a wonderful idea. And I'm patting him on the back. I'm going, that is a brilliant idea. I love the way you get your own ideas and you just, you use your imagination and you just create these things. That's brilliant. So changing the frame does a world of good. There are times when we might not want to make the change. Greg mentioned the lady who just lost her husband. If someone comes to me and they just lost their parent or their sibling, man, they're going to feel miserable. That's okay. But if a couple of months pass and they still feel the same way, then I'm going to intervene and I'm going to start to change the frame with their permission, of course. I'll start to change frame. Long-term grief. In long-term grief, the way a person has framed the death is different. And the way they have framed the death or the incident is not really resourceful. So a person can continue through life feeling a lot of grief, not really resourceful. So we can change the frame from grief to appreciation, and we do a bit more of the way they associate into the memories. But basically, if someone is grieving for a long period of time and not getting through it, we do a little intervention, we change a couple of things, and the person starts, if we take a death, the person may have that person be a part of them and integrated. Like my grandfather, that's my grandfather's, all that stuff in the corner there. When my grandfather died, I grieved, but then I took him and he became a part of me. He became part of my reason for living, not my reason for dying. It became part of my reason for living and sharing. So that was a very resourceful way for me to go on. So the event was framed differently. Grief, depression, anxiety, they're just framed the wrong way. Change the frame, change their life. Obviously, it takes a lot of skill to be able to reframe anything, but it starts with reframing small things. Thing you can all read, but when you change your frame, you change your whole meaning. This will change your response. This will change your behavior. So changing the frame changes everything. A little example, you got the pussycat here. 3 cats, they all look the same. All cats are the same, right? But once you put a different frame around them, which frame looks more expensive? Which cat looks most expensive? If these were paintings or pictures, one of these would sell for more. The Mona Lisa is an incredible example. This is one I use a lot with people. What do you think this child is saying? Woohoo! Or, oh. If
I think he's expressing something that been to go.
he could be expressing scary, it could be expressing excitement.
Excitement. Yes.
Could just as easily be either one. Scary and excitement is very, very close. A lot of people, when they go to speak on stage, they feel all the energy. And that energy is sometimes labeled as fear or stage fright. And because it gets labeled as stage fright, it becomes this bad thing. I teach all my speakers the same thing. It's not fear. What are you actually sensing? And the people tell me, oh, my heart is beating faster. I feel the energy coming out here. And I say, is that like excitement? Is that like how you feel just before a surprise birthday party and you yell out surprise? Fear and excitement are pretty close, and physiological, they're very close, very, very close. A lot of studies and people know more and more today about the power of the brain. When we really envision something scary, we get the effect. When we envision something excitement or fun, we get the effect. So the way we visualize it or frame it is incredibly important. Here's a couple of common frames we have, or reframes, you know, the kids' jokes. How was Christmas Day? I had my daughter sitting here saying a couple of jokes. Humor, comedy is full of reframes. Scarcity and abundance thinking is a common reframe. Excuses. I love saying to people, is that an excuse or a reason? Or you either have results or reasons. Excuses or results. Take your pick. You got excuses or you got results. But we have a couple more frames that we use in NLP, a couple of explicit frames. Discovery frame. And now when it comes to New Year's Eve, boom, we're right on right here. This is what is critical for goal setting in New Year's Eve right here. Okay, so we've got our discovery frame and we want to take the time to discover what is important for our goals, what's important for our new year. Our outcome frame. Our outcome frame is, what do you want? Now, when it comes to goal setting, how many people do you think do a good discovery? So a little bit of structure from an NLP sense, a little bit of structure can really help us find higher quality goals. A lot of the time, someone might come to me as a coach and they will say, Adrian, I don't want X. And if anyone ever comes to you saying they don't want X, they actually haven't done a lot of discovery. They don't know what they want, they know what they don't want. So if someone ever comes with what they don't want, we got to do a good discovery on what they do want and start to get an outcome frame. So the discovery frame, it's like our eyes are wide open, all the possibilities. We're not committing to any pathway, we're just discovering. And I want to thank you guys for having your discovery frame on here. And now I'd like to take your attention to, now we are going to get an outcome. We're going to get a little NLP process that will help you or help others with goal setting. So we start with the discovery, then we step into the outcome. So what do you want? What are a couple of typical answers you get here? Oh, I want a red Ferrari. Or I want to be financially free. I want to become a certified coach. I want to be location free. Okay, cool. Now the next frame or the next question is more important. And William knows what it is. He knows what it is very well. Well, what do you want it for? What's your intention? What's the intention behind the goal? And it is amazing how many people don't get to there, but it's okay. Most people, personal development growth nerds like us. So, your outcome frame is your goal. Your intention is what's the meaning behind the goal, or what does that goal allow you to feel? If you look at logical levels, let's take a red Ferrari, for example. Would anyone here like a red Ferrari? Okay, would anyone here like a fancy sports car? Come on, I wanted a sports car.
Been there, done that, realised a bit of a waste of money, really.
All right. Hey, Greg or Darko, would either of you guys like a fast sports car?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so Greg's outcome, sports car. So I said to Greg simply, hey, go, what for? What does that red sports car, what will that allow you to feel or experience?
So many things. It can make you feel excited to drive it.
To feel excited. That's right. So feeling excited might be more of an intention than the car. I was going to say, I hope you didn't say like feels girls' legs or something like silly like that. I know some people like the sports car for the legs for some reason. And if someone wanted the sports car so they could, be impressive or a higher status, let's say someone wanted a sports car so they could feel like they were a higher status, what would be more important? The sports car or the higher status? The higher status would be more important, yeah? The higher status is on a higher level. It's on a higher logical level. So when it comes to goals, a lot of people, goals are typically on the outcome frame, the outcome level. So goals are the outcome, and it's great to set outcomes, but the intention in NLP, the intention is more important. And the intention in that case might be, I want to increase my status. Or as Greg said, I want to feel excited. So now when we know that feeling excited is important, and it's more important than the sports car, perhaps we could look at a sports motorbike or a whole pile of other things that can create excitement in our life. And if someone really did have the status or a small dick syndrome, if they went up to a higher intention, perhaps they could get some kind of therapy. And after the therapy, they could feel peace and comfortable in their own skin, and they wouldn't need a red Ferrari. Nothing wrong with red Ferraris, by the way. So most people don't naturally get to their intentions, especially people that watch a lot of TV, because TV today is all about outcomes. They rarely look deeper at the intentions. The next frame is a consequences or ecology frame. And we'll often bounce between outcome and intention, because we really got to look at, well, what's the intention of having that? If you are going for a red sports car, or if you are going for mindfulness, an unexpected consequence for myself being mindful, I used to get in trouble sometimes, not in trouble. Some of my family would they would be sad at me because I wouldn't answer their calls. It wasn't that I wasn't answering their calls. I just didn't carry my phone around. My phone would be over with the computer and I don't touch it until I have an appointment. So a completely unexpected consequence was the family was unhappy with me being so mindful because I didn't return their calls. I didn't even answer their calls. I didn't see them. But there are also positive consequences. After a little while, they adjusted and they recognized Adrian doesn't answer his phone a lot of the time. It's okay, relax, we'll call you back. Ecology is like consequences, making sure it's ecological. Two more frames we use a lot in NLP is the as-if frame. And this is very good for, say, future pacing. If you were to have your outcome, how would you be? If you actually had that red Ferrari, or if you were incredibly mindful, how would you be? Really step in and act as if. We'll actually say that. Step in and act as if. When we do our NLP training, we teach the discovery frame and the as if frame like on day one. When we're starting with conversations, when we're having a conversation with a stranger, we generally might want to start with the discovery frame or the outcome frame. And when we're doing our work, let's say we want to become more confident. Well, what's it like when you have more confidence? Act as if you're full of confidence. So we're putting the frame on there. Now, I added the agreement frame here, guys and girls. The agreement frame is something incredibly important for relationships. Husbands and wives, they often disagree, but we want to. Darko Alexandria is making like a 4 or 5 page PDF on the agreement frame. So she's going into how to use the agreement frame in more detail for relationships. I'm looking forward to that. We want to use the agreement frames more. If you grew up like I did, mum and dad constantly disagreeing, my parents would often disagree. I like to teach the agreement frame. Whenever someone says their thoughts, it's like, I agree, and, or if you don't agree, you can say, I hear what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying, and thank you for sharing that, and. So the thank you for sharing, I respect your answer, I hear what you say, and before talking, so that we establish agreement with what they're saying, or agreement or appreciation for what they're saying, and then we say, and if someone says something I don't like, I say, thank you for saying that. I appreciate what you're saying, and I think what you're saying is really important, and I see things differently. How many people do we have here? Okay. Greg, William, Stephen, Lois, Jennifer, Jasmine, do you guys have any outcome that you could share, or an outcome you could write down on a piece of paper? An outcome for you could write on a piece of paper, or if you want to share it out loud. I had an outcome last year, by the way, to do the splits and a handstand for 20 seconds. Hi, Stephen.
Yes,
how-
Andrew. Yeah, thanks so much for your sharing. I think from different things we have different perspectives. So from is quite important. So I improved my recognition a lot. And I realized how important to frame something, and that quite important.
Yeah, sometimes people come into the work office and you have to frame them as in, what are you here for? Or what kind of answer do you want?
Yes, also once you frame something, also influence your mindset as well.
A good friend of mine would love to talk and share huge, crazy ideas. And I recognize I'm following his conversation, but I recognize I don't have a frame. And I started to say to him, hey, what's the frame? Do you want to explore this, or do you want an outcome? And he started to say, I just want to explore. I just want to share this idea. Great. I relaxed so much more. And every time he shared his ideas, I could just relax, and he could share it all, and I would just relax. And like, great. And at the end, I'd be like, awesome. It's really good to have that frame. Okay, so can you guys write down an outcome? You might want to say being more mindful, being more present. Because being more present could be a wonderful outcome. But I really need you to write down an outcome, because if you don't actually write down an outcome, you won't really feel the question. Okay, no need to actually share it, but please write down some intention to be more mindful in the year, to have more things around me that bring me peace, being more me, being more authentic and aligned to myself. Cool. So now you have that. A real basic process, basic but powerful process in NLP. This is more the new code NLP than the old code. We start and we have a little circle. Using the ground is really powerful. Using the ground is really powerful. I have post-it notes, and I'll start by writing my outcome, and I'll put it on the ground right here. So right at my feet, I have the outcome. My outcome is to do the splits. Now we want to really associate into the outcome. So if you were being more you, or whatever outcome, if you had your outcome, what would you see? What would you hear? What would you feel? What would it be like when you fully get your outcome and you've totally got it? Myself, I actually have a couple of different, I have a different emotion here than I expected. I didn't recognize that I would have that emotion when I hit my outcome. So for me, doing the splits was always about looking after my back, but I recognize that when I can actually do the splits, I am going to get a massive rush of excitement, and I'm going to think anything in this world is possible. Cool. I didn't know that before. I, NLP coach, did not know that before. So just now, just then, by really seeing, hearing, feeling my outcome, I got higher quality information. And that's what that's what this activity is about. It's getting higher quality information. So just then I got higher quality information. I realized that I'm going to get something a little bit different when I get there. Okay, so higher quality information and choice is the name of our game. When you do NLP, it's about getting more choice, more awareness, higher quality information. So here, right, you have your outcome. We want to fully experience it, really experience it. And then we want to step back and ask ourselves, what for? What was the intention? What was the intention of that outcome? Now, if you actually have like a Post-it note or a circle, it's right there in front of you. You can see it. Yeah. So in this diagram, we start in the O, outcome. We take a step back into our intention. What was the intention of doing that? Okay, so now I've got higher quality information about my intention. And for a lot of people, they don't get their intention. Yeah, they want a red Ferrari. And it doesn't, you know, they have to wait until they're 55 or something before they recognize that they actually want to time with their kids or something. I don't know. So you actually bring them back, get the intention. Okay, great. Now you got the intention. We step back into outcomes, coaches. You step back into the outcomes just for a second to kind of reassociate, to reconnect to the resources here, and then we can step into the consequences. Consider all the consequences, good and bad. We can look from here or completely walk out and look back. We look at it from an angle and we get a feeling, does it all align? Now, for me, my intention and my outcome and my consequences, they all line up. A lot of your goals, if they're like mindfulness, being a better me, they'll line up. But if you have an outcome like making $1 million, there's a fair chance it might not. Hitting a business target, getting a promotion, there's a fair chance it might not line up. If they don't line up, you could just hop back in and adjust a little bit. Or we can repeat the cycle and make it a bigger cycle. So our outcome, we step back into our intention. Now, let's say I wanted a sports car, and the sports car was, the intention was to make me feel worthy, I step back into the sports car, I step out of the consequences, and I'm like, hang on, I don't feel worthy. Great, you just saved yourself a whole lot of pain. So we come back to our intention, and now we repeat the cycle, only this intention now becomes a new outcome. So the outcome I actually have is to feel worthy. Okay, so what's the intention of feeling worthy? and we step up and go into another cycle. I'll show you that. I just got to. So you can see here we start with the blue, and then we can run a second cycle in orange, a third cycle in red, and we can keep going along with that. One of my trainers, when he taught me this in Beijing 8 years ago, we had a ladder. We had like a ladder. And the IOC or the IO, all the outcomes and intentions were a ladder. And each rung of the ladder had an intent, had the consequences to the side. You just walk up and down the ladder, feeling the intentions, having the consequences. Once it's aligned in the NLP world, once it's aligned, then we step into SMART goals or smarter goals, well-formed outcomes. Yeah. NLP modeled the SMART goals and the smarter goals in the sports world, not the life world. If you're a professional athlete, you can sacrifice your life for that gold medal. A friend of mine was over in Tokyo a little while ago, coach, you know, and the athlete, that is the goal. If it means not spending time with kids, okay, gold medal and smarter, well-formed outcomes towards that makes sense. But I don't see a lot of NLP trainers using SMART goals. I see them generally using intention. I'm sure you all know what SMART goals are. Yes, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based, smarter, add in ecology, resources. Well-formed outcomes is this a goal, and you go through a process of considering the important things. Agassiz, is it within my control? Am I going to have a relevant time frame, you know, the ability to make this stuff happen? But there's no point making a SMART goal or a smarter goal if it's not in line with your intention. And a lot of people make SMART goals to be a millionaire or whatever. They make a SMART goal to have so many followers, but the intention isn't there. And if you make a SMART goal, but it's not in line with your intention, you're going to lose motivation. Your unconscious will sabotage you.
Like this, what you have shared with us, a good exercise. It creates for me a lot of thinking process and brings a reason for the goals I'm striving for. It gives me intention. So yeah, thank you for that.
Darko and I have worked together to grow the community. So we have a little, we don't always have full alignment. It's not necessarily Darko and I, but we always don't have full alignment. I often don't have full alignment because part of me wants to get more money, get more income, but another part of me wants more time with my kids. And I want more time, and I want to be there. I want to be there for my clients. My clients having a bad day, I want to be able to call them up on the spot. Yeah. So often we end up with a misalignment in ourselves or conflicting and competing. If we take this just one step or two steps further, so after we do that, we can go in and do the SMART goals. We could also put it in our timeline. If you were to imagine yourself at Christmas next year, if you were in your mind's eye to really see yourself at Christmas next year, there are certain qualities of that picture. The qualities of that picture represent perhaps certainty, because you know you're going to be having Christmas next year somewhere. If you have a goal and you would put it in your future timeline, and we have all these submodalities, and then if your timeline is going this way, and if your goal doesn't fit in, it won't fit in. So the goal should match the submodalities or the reference points you already have, and you should be able to go with a high level of certainty, that's where I'm going, and have the ability to go through and pursue on that. These SMART goals and OICs, really good to go through, and you can go through all of them by yourself, but I highly suggest doing a couple of hours perhaps with yourself, but then getting a coach or working with someone in the group to go through it and get that discussion going where you share it with someone else. And this one here, absolutely easy to do by yourself. I was just talking with a extremely good psychologist who came around the other day. He always does about 2 to 3 hours of journaling at New Year's Eve, 2-3 hours reviewing the previous year. And one of my best clients, a young entrepreneur, he would spend a day, just 1 day or 2 days. He'd spend 1 day reviewing the past year, and he would spend another 1 or 2 days planning for the year ahead. And he knocked out a lot of the business goals like Darko did.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.